So I noticed something recently. It's not really anything too. I'm not gonna say I noticed it heavily, but I find it odd that in this whole game, all the enemies that you fight, aside from bosses, are male. I guess it makes it easier when you're sort of just okay. I'm building a level. I'm not gonna worry about which characters are which. Um, and you could even say, well, you don't know if that character is male or female. Well, you kind of can tell because they have, well, maybe my point is moot, but sort of what I'm trying to get at is I noticed in the level with the Shrine of Steels, there were some female druids, which I had never seen a female druid in any of the prior playthroughs other than that one. Now, they have a much more distinct looking sprite than, say, a female archer or sniper or thief. A lot of these characters would look identical whether they're male or female. The big difference ones are going to be some of your mages, which a little surprising, but the male stages, female stages definitely look different, and the druids as well would look different. I don't know about the bishops. Bishops are sort of a question because in this game you don't run into a ton of bishops, and I have to use my memory from Fire Emblem 6 to remember what normal bishops look like because they gave Sarah her own unique sprite. And then, of course, generals and these characters would all be the same. And there are no female axe users, with the exception of, if you count the hero in 6, you have I can't remember what her name is, like Olga or something like that. She is a hero, but she can wield axe. But yeah, you won't run into a axe fighter, you won't run into a hero, you won't run into a berserker or pirate or brigand that is female in either one of those games. That's an axe reaver. Remember I was telling you about the axe reaver earlier? You just have to switch over to your sword in that case. Also, I noticed that they put the axe reaver on the. That's an error. If I attack him, I'm dead. So this is the great great Joseph Joestar's line. If you're overwhelmed by an enemy, you can always run away. You may have to face them later, like on a bridge or something, but one of your tactical options is you can always run away. And that is what I'm going to do. And we'll kill this druid as well. Believe it or not, this is actually a very good and viable tactic. I mean, obviously, you want to be hard-headed and be like, no, you gotta stand in there and take the damage. No, you don't have to stand there and take the damage. What you're doing right now is we're going to walk away from this area. If we get attacked, it's only going to be this one time because I was too far south. Otherwise, the generals will not be able to catch up to my hero because I've got one extra move over them. And once I've lured them towards my big army group, I'll be able to overwhelm them with not only numbers, but different characters that can wield, say, swords or lances or magic. Lynn needs help here. I have to send in the cavalry to help out. I know we talked about liability in these games. I'm I'm sort of unchanged in my opinion on viability of characters, and I'm not talking about the statistics stuff this time, but the actual viability of characters. You know, I read a lot in preparation for, I wouldn't say I read a ton, but I read some in preparation for the Hector's Hard campaign as to who's a character that you should probably not bring versus the character you should bring. And the thought process there is, you know, obviously I can make the game easier if I know who gives me an advantage over others. And in some cases I completely agree with them, and in other cases I feel like you're getting an inferior version of a character you could train up. So, for instance, Parkin. I'm gonna talk about you know Raven. You didn't recruit Raven. Raven died or something. He's an excellent replacement. You don't have to use him until you get to roughly this point because he's a little overpowered. But yeah, he comes in really strong. He's got good statistics. I think in the case of Heat right here, I think he, even after all the training I did with Dorcas, he is the superior of the two because he wasn't as good in many of the stats, but he was better. He was comparable in all of his stats, and he was better in defensive resistance. Or he was at least comparable in defense. He was much better in resistance. So, I mean, that was my big thing with Dorcas is you're not doubling. You're driving me up the wall. I need you to double. Meanwhile, Geitz comes in. He's like, yeah, I can double. Was there a problem previously that your axe fighter wasn't doubling? But sort of what I'm getting at is, I think if you take time, if you have the ability to take time to train up your characters, like or Hector, not Hector, or Raven, or there's a number of characters that start out unpromoted that you can train up. That just they can help carry you through the game. You know, Raven and Canis, and then there are other characters that just either due to the nature of their whatever you want to call it, their character, or the way they level up, they just don't seem to fit in quite well. Like, I'll give you an example. Priscilla and Sarah, they're both safe healer units, and they do a very good job of that. They're very good at what they do. Obviously, with Priscilla being more movement, less magic, and Sarah being the opposite. She's gonna get more magic, but less. Gonna basically cap out at because that's the next move. So you gotta sort of take that into consideration when you're deciding which one you want to take. In this case, I kind of wish I could have taken either Sarah or even Lucius in as compared to Priscilla. Not because Priscilla's bad, but because I'm running a little too heavy on my anima magic, and I don't have a druid, and I don't have a bishop option, which you can live without the druid. Because I understand Canis is the only one, so you either take Canis with you or you don't get dark magic. Whereas at least with white magic, you have an option of 2 different characters. I don't know. The white mages never really impressed me that much. I mean, they do a good job of what they do, but I always feel like their white magic is sort of secondary to them healing. With Sarah being the one that kind of irked me the most, because when you get her leveled up properly, she is an excellent bishop. She's got all this attack, got decent speed and skill, but you've spent so much time training her that more than likely she is not at the position that you're going to use. You're going to use the white magic spell. And if you don't use the white magic spells, you're going to S tier your staves before you hit your white magic S tier, which is fine, I guess, because I mean, what? There's really like I ran into one top tier level white magic spell in this game. Whereas with black, I mean, you can same thing with black magic, but I don't know. I don't think there's really a good comparison between Luna, Nosferatu, and whatever the other two for white magic is. Just the white magic isn't nearly as good, I don't think. But there are definitely characters that do better in this game than others. But I think that has more to do with, like I said, their class, their constitution, which I've complained about a number of times. And how they grow. I mean, like I used Dorcas for a while. I could continue to use him if for some reason I hadn't gotten Keats. Instead, I had gotten like what's his face, Wallace. If I'd gotten Wallace instead, I wouldn't get Keats, so I'd still be using Dorcas. But I don't know. When you get a character that comes in at roughly the same level as you, and has stats that I'm personally looking for, like defense, resistance, and is able to double, that's the character I'm going to bench the other one for, because there's no reason for me to continue to use a character like that I'm not interested in and isn't producing the results I want. In some ways, I also agree with some of what they were saying. Lynn is just I mean, she's usable, but she is a clear step behind the other two lords. And I like Eliwood. I think Eliwood does an excellent job for what he does. I know he doesn't get the full movement range that a Cavalier should, or I'm sorry, a Paladin should have. But I think he is, in terms of usability, comparable to Hector. Hector is obviously your tank. Eliwood's your Paladin. So they tend to fit those archetypes. There's other characters I'm sure that I'm forgetting that I mean, Jafar's another one. He's such a great addition because you get him, you look at his statistics, he's got good defense, good resistance, not spectacular. He's an assassin, so he can randomly proc the assassination skill. He's evasive enough that as long as you don't put him on the front line, he should be okay. And if you really equipped him with like killer items, which I know are limited up to this point in the game, and he'd be very dangerous. So, but I don't know. I don't understand this. Yes, Pent, a very good unit. If you did not train Urk, he's a good unit to put in there. But I just feel like if you are dedicated to either training Urk or Nino, not that anyone should train Nino unless they're really dedicated to having her in their party. But both of those characters, based on their stat growth, should surpass, eclipse Pent very early. And while Pent does have the ability to use stronger staves without having to train that up during your post-promote area, which is obviously a benefit for him, I feel like he's a little too fragile. Maybe that's because I use mages wrong. I like to put them where they should be, and they're just designed to basically be you know, the garbage men of Fire Emblem universe, where they just come in and clean up, and then, you know, they go somewhere else. They're done. Swordmasters, I don't know. The whole Swordmaster class from Lynn down to Carla Perel, a guy, kind of meh. I mean, they're not a bad class. It's just I think the hero class is a better one. You get defense, you get strength, you get decent accuracy, and you get the 20% crit rate. No, you don't get the increased critical rate, but I think that would be more dangerous if the crit was... I guess crits do 3 times damage anyways, don't they? For some reason I thought they'd do more than that. I don't know. It feels like they're a little weakened. The big downside of the Swordmaster is your crit's based on how much damage you can do. So if you do 0 damage crit, you're still doing 0 damage. Just as you get stronger and you have more strength, it's done it. But you know, as you gain more attack point, okay, you can do say 10 damage, multiply 10 by 3, but now you're doing 30. But if you multiply 5 by 3, you're doing 15. You know, that's where the multiplier comes in. Sort of their downside is they don't get enough strength, and then they get the penalties because they're so light. They don't wield even just regular heal weapons without incurring a penalty. And then in the case of Carla, which I complained about in normal mode, you have to dedicate your time to a singular character, which the internet believes is a bad character. I like Bartray. I think if you put time into Bartray, he's worth using, he's worth your time. But a lot of people don't. They're axe fighters. We can't use them. They're useless. I get it. Axe fighters take a lot of, they're like mages. They take a lot of time and effort to make sure that they get up high enough that they're able to survive and take care of themselves. And I understand where, at least in Hector's hard mode, or the hard modes in general, where using archers is much more difficult because you have a lot more opportunity for guys, particularly flyers, even early on, slip by your front line and create a situation where they get behind you, your back line or something, and they're able to deal damage directly to the archer, and the archer cannot retaliate, and more than likely will take a good chunk of damage, depending on who it is, I guess. Rebecca's designed for evasion, Will's designed for defense. And they do what they do well, but they don't do the opposite well. I mean, obviously Rebecca, you're either gonna get the defense or not. If she doesn't get the defense, she has to have the evasion. But what I'm trying to say is Will does not get an adequate amount of evasion as compared to Rebecca. But he does. If he does get hit, you don't have to worry. You're not rolling the dice every turn, and the chance that an 8% chance is not gonna miss this time, and rather is going to start to hit you. Because inevitably you are going to get hit with an 8% or a 5% or 2% chance. Just like you're able to hit a boss with a 20% chance, even though you shouldn't. Like I said, we got this level pretty much under wraps now. We just want to finish off the last of the flyers here. A little dangerous there for PT, but he did do it, and that guy was not in range of him, so Pen finished this off. This should be our last turn. Last turn. We'll just do some quick healing here. End our turn. And then, because I've got some time, I'm going to tack on the prep level to the end of this level. I'll do a little editing so that I remove some of the prep time, because I gotta make sure that anybody has that silver card when we go to purchase, and then I gotta make sure that, as there's only 5 turns in that, I gotta make sure that characters are basically handing off the silver card as they go. So basically have a flyer like Heath with it. He goes, gets some material, flies back towards another one, and as he's sitting there, he hands off the silver card to whoever's in the other shop. And in doing so, you get 2 shopping experiences for the price of 1 turn. So, gonna get Merlin as a free level here. Not that it matters; he's already classed up. What we're looking for here is elixirs, and then we want to. I don't really need any staves at this point. I could take another restore or mend, but we're going to skip those for the most part right now. I may change my mind in a moment. Yep, I'll move up here. Then here comes the warrior. We're going to trade. Take silver card. Again, I always bring that member card accidentally, because I'm not thinking. But he'll go in here. He'll buy up the axes. I don't need any more. Don't need any more iron axes, or at least not too many. Maybe 1 or 2 more. I'm gonna grab up 4 hand axes. I'm gonna grab up some silver axes, a killer axe maybe, a couple steel axes. It's fine. And we're gonna set the remainder of our guys up for retrieval of the item. We're going to we're going to retrieve the package. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more to go. We're not going to worry about saving ourselves money here, because I'm only going to pick up another one of these tomes, maybe another thunder or elfire, but I don't have any need for light or black magic at this point. Boot. Yeah, so we got ourselves hopefully set up now to take care of this, and yeah, we'll go from there. The guy talks about whatever, make sure you stock up on weapons. You're not going to come back here. You're not going to get another opportunity at a shop, probably, definitely, but talking because he doesn't want to give away the end of the game. But he's basically giving you a hint like, hey, maybe we should fill that inventory completely up, because you ain't coming back here again to get to do this a 2nd time. I appreciate Hector also giving me like 30,000 gold or something like that. But you can see I don't really need 30,000 gold. So I don't actually know what the prerequisites to a 5-star economic review is in this game. Alright. Number card, silver card. Alright, I screwed that up somehow. That's okay. We'll just pick up stuff on the next turn. Make sure that we are in position. To get the last of the shops here, which is just going to be a bow and arrow shop. Only have a couple things to pick up in the bow and arrow shop. This one's going to be a little bit more complicated, because I want to buy some iron swords, killing edges, silver sword, and then a couple steels, I guess. Well, I sort of ran out of sword weapons, even though at one point I felt like my box was overflowing with them. Okay. And then we'll finish off the last couple turns with maybe playing some Coliseum games. Do the armory. Lots of stuff. Long bows, short bows, killer bows, steel bows. Well, I'm only gonna get 1 steel bow, but good on iron bows, I think. Silver bow is good. 1 of those, killer bow, good. 1 of those as well. Pretty much 1 of each of these, and then I don't think I need another iron. But we'll get it anyways. That'll be that. Oh, yep, let's sell that off. pick up another fresh iron bow. Because I'm buying stuff basically at the price I sell it back to him. It doesn't really matter if basically getting my money, getting my weapon repaired for whatever the difference in cost was between what I sold and what I just bought. I'm just quickly taking a look at my inventory here, make sure I've got enough of everything. What's fun is I sorted stuff into all my guys, and now I realize that I'm gonna have to, after this mission's over, I'm gonna have to resort them again because I've got more weapons, including hand weapons that can be used. So I'm gonna have to I'm not gonna say make room for it, but I'm gonna have to balance